Right below the Polish church used to be the fabulous Club 57. It was a hotbed of entertainment and wild parties. People like Keith Haring and Kenny Scharf, Ann Magnuson, John Sex, all started their performance careers here.
All right, let's go into the Irving Plaza show. So tell me, and again, I know 42 years later, it's like boom, like, you know, we're talking about something that's kind of hazy. So if you don't know something, you don't know something. So you get there to the show. There were no openers.
Oh, there was. There were, the Mad opened up.
I hate music. He hates music. She hates music. We hate music.
Oh, the Mad. Okay, so real quick. So the Mad was another band. So we've spoken before about the Stimulators, the Mad, the Bad Brains, Kraut, the Misfits. All these bands were around at the time. The Fiends was another one. The Horror Lords. They were all playing around the Lower East Side, playing Max's, playing this, playing that. And this is like kind of the birth of what would become New York hardcore.
New York was going through a lot of changes. There was like ska bullshit going on.
The word punk was coined, and it was supposed to mean no rules, anything is possible. And then suddenly it came with a set of rules. It came with a set of, you can't do this, you shouldn't listen to that, you shouldn't do this, you dress this way. At the beginning it wasn't like that. It was full of incredibly different but diverse bands, all with different, you know, the thing that brought us all together is we were all young and we all wanted to do something, and we were excited, and it was a great musical movement. And it's the same as the 50s, the 60s. It's happened, you know, over and over, and it was an incredible time. But a year or so into that era, it became, the press told us what it was suddenly, and everyone believed that's what it was. And then you got the second wave of punk.
And the Mad was the brainchild of this brilliant genius named Screaming Mad George, who was a student at SVA, School of Visual Arts in New York. So Screaming Mad George would go on to become one of the best special effects artists of the 80s and 90s. He did the special effects for Bride of Re-Animator, Society. He did the Guyver, but when he first started out, he was more of a musician, performance artist. And they have some great 7 inches. Fried Egg, I Hate Music. Seek this music out, people, if you can find it. I believe they were on the New York Thrash compilation, the New York Hardcore, New York Thrash. Their music was hardcore punk or punk rock mixed with performance art. And he would do, you know, he would disembowel himself on stage. He'd pull guts out. There'd be blood everywhere. He'd do all sorts of stuff. I didn't realize that he opened that show in 1979.
Somebody asked me once about the Mad, I think Joe Stoker online, what were the Mad like live? And I told him something like, I have to think about that for a little bit first before I could answer, because it wasn't like your normal, like, you know, rock and roll punk show that you go see at a club where people are playing. Like you said, there's all kind of theatrics, film screens behind them showing like George's demented films that he made. Like, I think they were like claymation films of like hands coming out of the ground.
Sounds about right.
And you know, all kind of other, you know, like eyeballs being scooped out of the head, like the first 45. Right. So you had the films going on. You had the band playing really loud, and George like screaming his head off. And it was more like a macabre theater than a regular rock show.
Amazing.
They were unlike anything else at the time, you know. I mean, I saw them like maybe 5-6 times, and it was just like you walk out of there just like shaking your head. One part of the show, there would be this like woman who comes on stage with the eyeball instead of a head, like an eyeball head.
Right.
And he would like perform an abortion on stage.
Wow.
And pull a bloody fetus out of her between her legs. they were like a pretty big thing on the scene for a stretch of time, and then I guess they kind of disappeared. But so I guess he went off to do other things. But
Right.
they were like one of the most hottest bands, or acts, I guess, on the scene for a stretch of like a year and a half or something like that.